Yeah, hi there. These comments are for MY. I'm just using your initials for privacy purposes. So let's take a look at, this is a integrated speaking practice test number 1, and I am your online TOEFL course instructor for the 7-step system to pass the TOEFL IBT, and you're also one of my students over here at Cal State University San Bernardino. So let's get started.
And the two students track demonstrate political and economic examples of the impact of advertising on people's lives. Firstly, according to the reading passage, which mentions how advertisement affects people's opinion when voting to a political candidate. TV commercial, billboards, and radio ads are some effective ways to gain people's vote. Secondly, another impact of advertising is economical one. For instance, consumers who watch an ad of a specific toothpaste brand is more likely to buy the same brand. In brief, the students say that we must be aware of how advertisements work, because sometimes they are good for us and sometimes bad.
All right, let's listen to it one more time, MY. I just wanted to listen to it the first time just to get a feel for your speaking. Now, the beginning of the speech, you need to set up both topics, the topic of the reading and also the conversation. So the reading passage is discussing the political effects of advertising, and then the conversation supports this by talking about its economic effects. Right? So let's see what you did in the beginning.
And the reading part and the two students track demonstrate political and economic examples of the impact of advertising.
So you had some grammatical issues in the beginning of this speech. Let's listen to it one more time.
And the reading part and the two students track demonstrate political and economic.
So the reading and the reading part and the listening part discuss. I guess it's okay. Let's keep going.
And the reading part and the two students track demonstrate political and economic examples of the impact of advertising on people's lives.
Okay, so you have your introduction set up. Now, from a delivery standpoint, you have to be a little bit careful. You're stressing almost every single word that you say, and your tone is kind of a higher kind of tone, but it's staying almost the same. So you want to make some adjustments, I think, in your tone and also in what's called your rhythm, your sentence rhythm. Now, if you're not sure how to do that, go to my pronunciation part of my course and make sure you review the lessons focusing on sentence rhythm and also intonation. Again, it sounds almost like you're yelling here, so be careful. You want to try to sound natural. And the way you're speaking right now does not sound natural. You're putting too much stress on all the different words that you're saying, and you're not really varying your tone at all.
According to the reading passage, which mentions how advertisement affects people's opinion when voting to a political candidate. TV commercial, billboards, and radio ads are...
You want to say radio, not radio, but radio ads.
Some effective ways to gain people's vote.
And when you pronounce the word vote, don't forget to vibrate your lips here with your teeth. Vote.
Secondly, another impact of advertising is economical one. For instance,
now this is where you could run into some trouble. You want to say, according to the listening passage, another impact of advertising is economic. So you want to make sure that you're transitioning from the reading passage to discussing the conversation or the lecture. So it wasn't quite clear at this part of your speech where the information is coming from.
Consumer who watch an ad of a specific...
Don't forget, consumer is singular, so a consumer who watches, make that singular.
toothpaste and the reading part, and the two students track demonstrate political and economic to gain people's vote. Secondly, another impact of advertising is economical one.
And this is where we want to mention
For
the listening
instance,
passage.
Consumer who watch an ad of...
Don't forget, either you say a consumer who watches or consumers, plural, who watch. Right? So either make the noun plural or singular, and then make sure you change the verb and the adjective clause to match that.
A specific toothpaste brand is more likely to buy the same brand. In brief, the students say that we must be aware of how advertisements work because sometimes they are good for us and sometimes bad.
Okay, so overall, let's take a look at how you'll score on this particular practice test. So you got very big trouble with your pronunciation. That's probably the biggest problem you're having right now. So like I said, too much stress on too many words in the sentence. That's not how we do it in English. Sentence rhythm in English is a combination of unstressed and stressed words. We speak with more of a rhythm. We don't say, "Hi, how are you today? My name is Michael. I am glad to have you in my class." So we have to be careful that we don't put too much stress on everything that we say in the sentence, because that's not going to be natural sounding. And also we have to work on that tone, varying that tone a little bit. So grammar and language use, you had some minor problems with subject-verb agreement, possibly. Sometimes your singular versus your plural noun, so nothing major there. Your topic development, I thought, was actually pretty good, except for the middle of the speech. When you make the transition from the reading passage to the listening passage, it wasn't clear that you were talking about the listening passage at that point of your speech. So you have to do a little bit better job transitioning and also acknowledging where your information is coming from. Okay, so based on some of my comments, based on the speech that you just did, I'm going to give you 2.16 out of 4, or 17 points out of 30 on this particular practice test. Now for our class, let me go get my notebook. Hold on a minute. Okay, what we want to do now is to try to figure out what your score or grade will be in our class. So a 2.16, that puts you at 75% for this particular assignment. Now, my advice is, you just completed speaking practice test number 1, integrated practice test number 1, right? So I would recommend go ahead and do 2, 3, and 4. You can do those directly at my Voxy Pop group, and either Jacob or I will listen to them over the next few days. So I think that you need a little more practice, and as you're completing those practice tests, you want to try to make some adjustments in your sentence rhythm and also your intonation. Those are 2 things I'd like to see some improvements in when you complete your next practice test. Alrighty? Thank you.